Find us on the web at smacology.42web.io. There you can find our latest episode, or you can support the podcast by following our affiliate links at the top of the page. You can even buy some awesome Smacking Off merchandise. Again, that is smacology.42web.io.
We're here at Commonwealth Stadium, representing for the Kentucky Wildcats, right against the Georgia Bulldogs, right? And I'm live here, and there's fun and excitement going on. I know you can see that. This is Smacking Off, the podcast.
Hi, we're Fiverr, a global marketplace connecting individuals and businesses with freelancers offering thousands of digital services. Graphic design, web development, video editing, e-commerce marketing. You name it, there's a professional freelancer ready to make it happen. Filter your search by the service needed, budget, timeline, and boom! Fiverr provides a list of talented freelancers to meet your specific needs. Always know what you'll pay up front. No hourly rates, just project-based pricing. And because payment isn't released until you approve the work, you can rest assured that you'll be satisfied with the quality and get exactly what you want. Our support team is always available to answer questions or offer assistance when you need it. With the whole world of freelance talent at your fingertips, what might you achieve? Join today and find out. Fiverr. It starts here.
Janelle Holloway, the leading rusher for Oklahoma, almost 5.5 a carry, has -8 on 5 rushes. Home run ball. Jackson has it.
And now,
Smacking Off the podcast.
What's up?
how's
What's going on,
everybody?
guys?
Hell yeah. So how's everybody doing tonight?
Good.
Doing
How are you?
great.
That's a great night. How we doing?
Hallelujah. It's a beautiful summer night.
So, are you gonna be at work, Nikki?
No, I put someone else up there for the time being.
I got you.
Okay, so I put James up there for the time being.
Oh
Has Sky
What's he
joined
hit?
us yet?
no, I don't. I do not see Mr. Ute.
Oh, goodness. Well,
So he hit me up in my DMs the other day, and he wanted to do this. So we'll see if he pops in.
we can join later.
I mean, it's not going to be any great loss. I mean, nobody wants to talk about them fucking Utes.
Not when you got TCU, right?
Exactly.
But you got a lot going on in this conference. I mean, it's one of the most exciting looking conferences.
Deep.
Yes, but very just the names. I mean, you got all these teams that were already saying they were Power 5 teams, and they were and most of them were playing that way. So this is interesting.
Yeah, it's very interesting. And on that note, let's welcome everybody to Smacking Off the podcast. We have our key contributors, Sean Devine, Ed Scrivener, and Nikki. And by the way, I love your little picture here, Ed.
I look like a psycho in the picture.
Oh yeah, I like it. And then we got our producer Doug Phillips, and I'm the host, Dr. Paulson. So let's get down to it. But I do love your picture, Ed. I just had to talk about
All righty.
that.
I had to pull up an old show, Ed, when you used to turn your camera on.
Ed,
And
you
get
didn't
a
have to
screenshot.
send. You didn't have to send. You didn't have to
Oh,
send
what's
Doug
that?
your Michigan driver's license photo.
That was an antique chair going across my porch.
He pulled a Jim Tom Sulo right there.
Oh yeah, I solved the energy crisis locally, right? But the methane emissions may drive the.
Remember Jim Tom Sulo, former 49ers head coach, his first press conference, he let one rip.
Oh gosh. Now, was he the coach of? I'm trying to remember that guy that played for the Chiefs for a while. Steve DeBerg, was that the guy that coached Steve DeBerg?
No, Tom Sula was a defensive line coach that got elevated for a hot minute to be the 49ers head coach.
And that worked out well.
So tell us, Sean, did he address it, or did he just not say anything?
They said that it was somebody moving in their chair in the first row, which no one believed, of course.
I would use that excuse too.
The chairs they're leather chairs, so they make noise. No, Kutch. The microphones are behind you.
So, guys, since you guys are from culturally all kinds, we're from all kinds of different places in America. I just have to know if in the culture you grew up in, if the speller is the feller or the dog barks first.
Say that again.
You never heard that? Is the smeller the feller, or did the dog bark first? In other words, if you're in a room in school, like say we was in class in 1979, right? And I was sitting there bored and I had awful gas, right? I might have a silent but deadly fart. You know what I'm trying to say? It's awful beyond belief, right? Then you'd wait for somebody else to complain about it, right? And then your friends, right, your little pack would go, well, the smeller's the feller. And they say, what about you, Arthur? I said, I think the dog barked first.
And welcome to Smacking Off.
Breaking down all gastrointestinal issues.
Oh, yeah. But you can feel that way about football, really, if you think about it. I mean, just say about Colorado. They had so much hype last year. And they won a few games. They got people excited. And I love Dion. Hell, he played for the Reds. How can you not let him play for the damn Reds, right? And the 49ers in the same day. Well, anyway, but here in the world of college football, it ain't easy, right? You can't just instantly snap your fingers and now you're the fire. So,
Dion did the only thing that he could do, taking over a miserable program. And it's the easier thing to do in the short term, which is to build an offense.
I agree.
It will be interesting to see if they can improve enough on the defensive side of the ball to be competitive, because there's so many games throughout the Big 12 season that regardless of who's playing who, they're effectively toss-ups.
I agree.
But do you not also think in the Big 12, him building the offense, if he would look into that defense? In the Big 12, we're not looking at it's normally an offensive-minded game. If you can bring a team in that has one hell of a defense, I think they can make a statement.
I agree.
Which brings us to Utah.
Yeah, but it's been a hit and I think it's more of a healthy issue with them.
So just to let everybody know, there's 16 teams in the Big 12, and if you don't remember all the teams, if you can, I don't know what y'all can see from y'all's screen, but I've got the screen up that's got all 16 logos on it.
I got my magazines up. I got my magazines up, Doug, so I got them all here.
Okay.
Yeah, I got my phone. And my iPad going too, but that's a great graphic. I like it. It's making it easier for me.
Should we run through them all real quick or no?
Sure, why not?
Man, I'm just listening, guys.
So what we do is
I know less about this, especially this year, than everybody here. I promise you. but it is an exciting league, and I'm really intrigued by it.
Yeah, but what I'm interested in, somebody a while ago was talking about how close they could be and how many teams could drop games to each other and how competitive it would be. So, Sean, you want to start from where you think the bottom is?
Yeah, and like a kind of overview of how I'm perceiving the Big 12, kind of like what Ed was saying earlier. I look at it as like, have we all seen the movie Moneyball here in this group?
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Yep.
And when, Bean runs into Peter Brand's character and Brand tells him, I think it's good that you got Giambi and Damon off your payroll. I think it's good the Big 12 got Oklahoma and Texas off their payroll, added a few more teams, like they did 4 teams this year: Arizona State, Utah,
Colorado.
Thank you. Because are there going to be the heavy hitters at the top, like in the past, where they go, oh, it's a 2-team league. No, there's a legitimate 10 teams in this league that can compete. And I think all the games in this league, as Ed mentioned, these things are going to go down to the wire. It's going to be fun. It's going to be crazy. There's going to be a lot of upsets. And I think the Big 12 might be the most exciting conference this year. But to answer your question, Dr. Balls, who I think is going to be last, I have the Houston Cougars coming in last to start off our round robin of who we think is going to be where.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. Them and maybe Baylor.
Well, Baylor's kind of an enigma. They had a down
I'm
year
looking
last.
at this list. I'm looking at this list, and
You broke up, Doug. Say that again.
You're having volume problems there, Doug.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, I must be coming in late. What I was going to say is,
like
I can see there's okay.
I like the though.
How about now?
Oh yeah,
that's better.
Okay, so I'm looking at this list. I'm looking at these teams, and I can count at least 6 teams that would not surprise me if any of these teams won this league.
Oh no,
6.
I have one more than you. I have 7, but yeah, that's about
So
I can't remember the last time. I can't remember the last time a conference looked that way, as far as the outlook on a season.
I think of the power. I think of the Power 4 conferences. This one has the most options as far as who you could take to win the conference. I think it's also got the most volatility of the Big 4 conferences.
Oh yeah, I agree.
I got the Sun Devils last.
Yeah, they're pretty. Maybe what do you think? Maybe 3-4 wins. Most of them out of conference.
I mean, I think they'll probably get a couple wins in the conference. They do have a hell of a running back, but they don't have a lot else.
I have them finishing just ahead of Houston, but I feel you on that one, Ed.
What about BYU? I have them about a 4-game winner, unfortunately, which I usually root for BYU, but
middle of the pack.
I have them right ahead of Arizona State, so you're reading my mind, Dr. Balls.
Yes, and then from there it gets harder and harder to pick for me.
Then I have Cincinnati. I don't think Cincinnati is very much since they lost their coach to Wisconsin. I don't think the new guy there has done much to restock Cincinnati. They've tumbled quite a ways since their CFP bid a few years back.
Yeah, I agree with that.
I got West Virginia as my sleeper.
I think West Virginia as a sleeper is a great call. I like Neil Brown as a head coach there. They were getting ready to fire him, and he pulled the fat out of the fire last year. They had a great. I think they finished 10-4 last year.
They did, and their quarterback is very good.
Yeah, I like West Virginia as a big time sleeper. They could shock some teams. The other one I think is a sleeper is Kansas.
Is Daniels back?
That I have to check on. Give me just a sec to answer that. But I think people just assume it's like, well, it's Kansas. They're not going to be very good. So wait for basketball season. But I think this Kansas team can surprise.
Oh, yeah. They've built up quite a bit. Kansas is moving in a different trajectory than they were traditionally known for. That's for sure.
Now, the challenge for Kansas, I think, this year is they are playing their home games at a lot of different places because I believe their stadium is still under construction. Let's see here.
But, if they could get some big crowds at Arrowhead, they could be tough.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. They got a big matchup at Kansas State, which they'll probably lose. Maybe Iowa State. They might lose to them. Iowa State is also very good in the conference, too, and I think underrated. But I'd like to see Kansas win.
The whole thing?
I mean, no, just win the conference or be in the discussion. For a school like that, that's a huge deal. One that
Daniels is back for Kansas, by the way.
And they're playing TCU at Arrowhead. I think they could actually pack that house with
So,
those two.
so some of their games will be at Arrowhead, and then some of their games will be at uh,
Children Mercy.
KC Sporting, which is the MLS team in that area.
Mm-hmm.
Sporting KC. I don't know. I don't follow the MLS, so if I
It is
mispronounced that one, I apologize.
So that was nice of him to donate that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm happy Kansas is investing resources into finally renovating and making that home stadium of theirs a lot better and befitting of a power conference school. Actually, the two programs this year that are reinvesting in their football stadiums are kind of traditionally known as doormats. Kansas here in the Big 12 and Northwestern in the Big 10.
Yeah, I love that.
The Northwestern had a good season last year when they weren't expected to win a game. So
yeah, absolutely,
that was pretty awesome.
But it's nice to see that they finally are, treating their fan base the right way by getting them better amenities along with their players.
Yeah, I agree. No, do you guys think with all the money that's coming in for these conference TV contracts, that schools like Kansas and Northwestern should absolutely take some of that money and upgrade their facilities and so forth, and instead of just squirreling it away?
100%.
If you want to be competitive, I would. If you
got to
don't,
put it back into the program, because if you don't put it back into the program, you're not going to get the players.
Exactly. Players want to have at least in this generation, the shiny bells and whistles and all the fancy toys and things of that nature. So you better reinvest in your facilities and infrastructure, otherwise you're going to get passed by real quick.
Now, what about Arizona, guys? I think that was an interesting addition to them, and Arizona State was a real interesting addition to the conference. And in a way, it philosophically kind of made sense. Arizona's had good football all my life, but it's been a while. What do you think will happen with them in the Big 12?
They're going to get pounced on for a few years.
They got some offense.
No, they certainly can score.
Arizona returns a lot of players. The problem is they don't return their head coach, which that to me is a big problem, because I think he's in Washington now.
He is.
Yeah.
Yeah. So whoever the new head coach is, I haven't looked it up yet, but and that's on me. I should have done better homework. But
that's all right. I got it up here right now. Let's see.
On paper they got some players, but
I just say they get the first year or two, they're going to get pounced on, and then they start building from. I do think they build eventually if they can keep stability.
I mean,
Brant Brennan. Now, CBS thinks that they're going to win 8 games.
Oh.
Athlon's got them top 5 in the conference. Phil Steele. Let's see what Phil Steele says. Phil Steele says Arizona is going to finish 4th. Wow. Okay. So they still have faith that there's enough talent left there down in, help me out, Tucson.
Who you got winning it? Utah?
Yeah, both. Yeah, Phil Steele and Athlon have Utah winning the conference.
Yeah, that's what most people have. But I like Oklahoma State a lot. I think talent-wise and experience-wise, they look real solid to me. Not that I don't believe that Utah's a hell of a team, and they've got a lot going for them too, especially at the quarterback position. Good defense, decent line. But Oklahoma State, I think they believe that they'll be able to push people around, and I'd like to see that matchup. I wonder let's see what week it would be.
I mean, they got Ollie. He can go off any minute.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, Utah's got – yeah, they believe they'll lose at Oklahoma State, and I do too. Because I believe Oklahoma –
I just think, I'm always a big believer in, veteran talent returning. And I think Oklahoma State has 10 on offense and 9 on defense. That's a big deal, playing a team with 21, 22-year-olds who've been in the system a long time versus 18, 19-year-olds. And Utah will have a very sturdy defense. I think they bring 9 back on defense. They only bring back 4 or 5 on offense, and that makes me nervous. And that's usually been Utah's issue in bigger games, is the ability to score the football. The defense will be there, but sometimes they struggle to score. And so I think Oklahoma State will win that, especially with it being in Stillwater. It's a really tough place to play.
I love Oklahoma State's schedule.
Well, yeah, they got what, 2 FCS teams?
They got South Dakota State, which
they're not bad.
Arkansas.
That's not a bad FCS program.
No.
The Jackrabbits. That's
I'm
a good
excited
program
to watch that.
Yeah.
And then they play Arkansas second week.
That is the game I'm very excited for.
That's going to be fun. So I think
Is that a neutral site
they
game?
have a fun. No, they're playing in Stillwater.
Arkansas might have the 3rd hardest schedule in the country.
Yeah, I've been seeing some people saying that.
I think
Where did KJ Jefferson end up?
I think Florida's got the hardest.
UCF.
I think Florida's got the hardest.
Mm-hmm.
USC, the Trojans, the real USC, has the 2nd, and then I'd put Arkansas as 3rd. I think that's an incredibly difficult schedule for Arkansas. I mean, good luck to what's the coach there? I love him. Heavy
Pittman.
Sam Pittman.
Sam Pittman. Good luck to Sam Pittman. I hope he doesn't lose his job over this year because, I mean, he's between a rock and a hard place.
I think that's with a lot of these conference and these coaches this season. It's honestly going to be a make or break, bringing in all these different schools. And if it's the SEC, if it's the Big 10, Big 12, they're expecting to see their team succeed over outsiders.
They're almost on like an NFL kind of head coach schedule, and that's just not reality in college football, No. For example, I as much as Nikki and I both like the Horned Frogs, I don't think this is going to be a great year down in Fort Worth, but I don't think, coach should be penalized for that this year. I think he's building something for at least next year and maybe the year down the road, but,
Him himself said that they're still in a transition of building.
Yeah.
The main thing they lost this year, of course, was they lost most of their offensive line. And trying to bounce back from that. And as long as Hoover stays healthy as quarterback, I think they can do okay. I just don't see them being. And they got Trey Sanders, one of my Gators, as running back. Is amazing. So
you can only fill so much through the portal.
Yep.
I still think you have to traditionally recruit your high school players, get them into your culture, your program. Get them in a weight program. Get them to buy in and build,
And that's been TCU for years.
Yeah.
Like local boys, the Litos, the, Highland Parks, those guys are the ones they normally bring in. This is like the maybe second year they've used the portal. And I mean, they brought in Braylon James from Notre Dame. They're bringing in big names.
You're welcome.
Yeah. But you love him too, so
if he had to go somewhere, we're very happy with.
Exactly, that was me with Trey Sanders. Okay, I can still cheer for you. Okay.
Yeah.
So if you go anywhere else,
go ahead and.
I just think like the portal should be, 15 to 20%. It should be fill a stopgap at a position, but it shouldn't be your overarching. I think. Getting back to the beginning of this discussion, I think Dion went maybe too far percentage-wise with just, fleshing out all his players and bringing in all these transfer portal guys. Because it's going to take time for guys to gel together as a unit and buy into the culture of the program, versus guys you recruited that were in high school. They bought into that. Now they're there. They're in the weight program. They're all, I think it's a different kind of mindset when it comes to those transfer portal. If you have too many in the program, because a lot of these guys they're vying for with the transfer portal is the NIL, the dollars, and they say money corrupts. So
it impacts team building. That's for sure.
Exactly.
When you're looking at these starting rosters, the projected starters for these teams, offense and defense, half of them right now are transfer players, and most of them are seniors. So they've played a few years where they were at, and they transfer over to try to get that last push for that money and that NFL chance.
Not begrudging the guys that came up from, maybe smaller programs that have shown that, they belong at a bigger, place than where they were, along with guys that, they're at maybe a bigger school at Georgia and Alabama, and they're not getting to play, and some of these kids just want to play,
That's
Yep.
That's understandable.
Like, to me, if I'm at Alabama, no offense to you, but like if I'm the third string running back at Alabama and I'm just sitting on the bench, the ring is nice and everything, but I want to get out there and I want to get my jersey dirty. I want to play a little bit.
Oh, absolutely.
So what do y'all think about Kansas State? I'm intrigued by Kansas State. I think they could possibly win the conference.
They lost their quarterback,
and most of their top offensive players.
I still like Kansas State, though. I still think I like what Kleeman's doing there. I think he's not Bill Snyder yet, but he's on the fast track to making K-State fans forget about Bill Snyder. Not that they ever will. I'm being facetious,
I know what you're saying, though.
But
I like K-State every year. I feel like each year they put something new together, and it throws the other team.
They find guys. They really find guys from all over, and we're talking not just D1, they go into the FCS, they go into D2. They find guys from all over. So they're always competitive.
They find guys that fit what they're trying to do and not necessarily the most highly rated guys.
They're ready.
So I'm with Doug, I'm with Dr. Balls, and I'm kind of with you. I think they're going to sneak around, hang around, and be in it until the end. But I have them just missing out on going to the conference championship game.
Yeah, that's probably what's going to happen the way their schedule lays out. But they miss Utah, and they get Oklahoma State and Arizona at home. That's kind of a big deal. So it's going to, man, this conference just blows my mind. It's so hard to pick them, but Doug loves lists, so we're going to have to make a list. I guess we should just list them from top to bottom who we think we're going to do what.
We were talking about coaches on the hot seat earlier. I got a name for you guys.
Billy Napier. Oh, wrong conference.
We're not doing the SEC tonight, Nikki. But remember, he was the golden boy a few years ago. I want to talk about Iowa State's Matt Campbell.
Oh yeah.
So there, it's time to kind of the proverbial shit or get off the pot. He's got to do something this year, especially with as I look. Let me see here, Iowa State.
I think he could go a long way just by beating Iowa.
Yeah. They bring back 10 starters on offense and 9 on defense this year. If this is the year to do something, you got to do something. And Doug's absolutely right. They have to beat Iowa in the. I know it's a non-conference game, but they have to win that game. I
don't see Campbell on the hot seat, but they're kind of stuck in neutral.
I think he's still riding on the coattails of someone that made it in the NFL here recently, and hoping to get another one of them.
Now they got to play at Iowa, and that place is a fucking madhouse. Excuse my language, but
that place is awesome.
It's a tough. Yeah, Iowa's.
That is a bucket list for me.
It's going to be hard. It'll be hard for them to win with McNown coming back as the quarterback.
Yeah, but they got. I think they're going to have one of the best defenses. This is what's interesting to me is I think they're going to have one of the best defenses in the league, but they're not going to be able to score much. That's what I'm thinking, Ed.
But that might work in the Big 12 because even down to Oklahoma and Texas the last few years in the Big 12, we are not seeing defense. We have a team that comes in with a defense. They might be able to
make some inroads because they haven't seen one.
Because they're not used to it.
And I'll play devil's advocate to Doug's point about beating Iowa. Usually it's better for Iowa State in the conference when they lose to Iowa.
You're probably right, but let me go ahead and throw this out there. I did not realize I had forgotten that they did get that Iowa monkey off their back, not last season, but the season before.
Yeah,
and I had forgotten about that.
Me too.
So I was thinking that I really
They
had
had never beat them.
Because Iowa generally always wins that game. You just figure, Iowa State lost a close one to Iowa. You know what? But and I'm sure I can pull Winspeed up and figure out that Iowa State probably has lost 8 of their last 9 to the Hawkeyes. But be that as it may, that game will matter a lot for Iowa State fans. I don't think it'll matter a lot for Campbell if he puts together a great year in conference. If he could get Iowa State to the conference championship game, I think that would go a long way.
But I think it does matter for the program if you not beating your rival. I know it sounds, you still want to win your conference games, but it's kind of like TCU and SMU every year, or Florida State. These teams, it goes against you as a coach that you can't beat that one team.
Now, do you think, Nikki, that so let's just say that Iowa State wins the conference somehow at 9-3, right?
Mm-hmm.
And one of the losses is to Iowa, who is like number 25. Would you think that would hurt their chances in the college football playoff, or where they were seated at?
No, not if Iowa's ranked, but I believe that as in the program, what they expect out of these coaches, I think it can rub you the wrong way when your coach can't beat your rival.
I know the games are in different times of the year, so take that out of the equation for just a second here. This is the Nikki, but Iowa and Iowa State always play like the first or second week of the season. For example, Florida and Florida State played then. Like if you lose to Florida State in week 1 or 2,
it don't matter.
But you win the SEC.
Yeah, that don't matter. If you're playing your rival like most do, the rivalry weekend, the last weekend of the season, pretty much, it's a little bit more on your back.
And that's why this rivalry game kind of the Cyhawk series kind of gets overlooked because it's always week 1 or week 2, even though it is a really very intense rivalry.
If you look at a team like Iowa State, if they have 3 losses and they're not a conference champion, it's going to be really hard for them to sneak in the top 12 because they're not a blue blood.
Oh, right. They have to win the conference or finish with no more than 2 losses for sure.
But I know that monkey stays on your back the whole season because it's kind of like Florida playing Miami. We've been playing them the beginning of the year, the last few times, winning or losing, that stays on your back. And it's a good thing it's on your back because it pushes you to win all these it's like a chip on your shoulder. I've got to win the rest of these. So it might you might benefit playing them early and losing because
that was my point. Because it seems like every time Iowa State loses to Iowa, they turn right around and they put together a really good in-conference, campaign, which is always now capped off with our new favorite rivalry game, Farmageddon. Kansas State against Iowa State in the Farm Bowl. I love it.
God. I like it too.
I like that.
The idea of it.
That game last year was real. That was a great game last year.
That was an incredible game.
Snow.
It was snowing. It was hard hitting. It was great. I think this conference, I guess I don't think I'm going out on a limb here, but maybe I can speak for I think all of us here. Whoever wins this conference, I don't think any of us have them winning the college football playoff. Am I right or am I wrong?
I'd say that's
You're
true.
Right. Unless it's TCU, then they're going all the way.
Take your bias out of it for just a second.
I'd agree with you, Sean.
But what I do think this conference is going to give us is the most. I'm going to go out on a limb on this. I think this conference of the power conferences is going to give us the most exciting games of the year.
I like it. Yeah.
Years, if you followed it the last few years, this has been the conference of fun football. It was like old school football coming back. You're down to the wire almost every game.
Yeah,
It was
this
awesome, and now
It
you're
was an
adding
exciting
other.
season last year, and see what they've added this year. I mean, it's really
Mm-hmm.
going to be amazing.
yeah this conference is going to be the conference where like there's 2 minutes left. You're going to have to hold your bladder. Don't go to the bathroom
Yeah,
because you never know what's going to happen. Like
and
this.
they
Oh
did
my
that
God,
the
the
year
guy fumbled
before
the kickoff
last.
return. They got the ball at the 5-yard line. Like
The
stuff
year
like that.
before last, I did that. TCU was it? I think it was Oklahoma State was beating, or to Oklahoma was beating us right till the end. I got up. I come back. The game's over, and TCU won. I'm like, what just happened?
What just happened? Right? Yeah.
And that was all last year, and it didn't matter what team was playing, and that included Oklahoma and Texas in the mix. Those games were still coming down to the wire. So it's kind of like, this is going to be fun watching these other conference teams now joining and seeing how they play against this type of football.
I'm extraordinarily excited for this conference, and that's no, I didn't mean disrespect by the fact that I don't think any of us are picking them to win the playoff.
No,
That's a different
I
beast.
can't say that. I will say that if Utah stays healthy and they produce like they have the last few years healthy,
They got to stay
think
healthy.
they can come into the. I think they could make it to the playoffs, but they have to stay healthy. That's been their biggest issue.
Particularly a quarterback. Quarterback
Yes.
has to be there. The
Tight
quarterback has
end.
to be there.
They've lost their last year, their starter and their backup tight end. They lost their wide receiver. It was like one after the other. Each week it was someone new. So as long as they can stay healthy, I actually can see them being a team that makes it to the playoffs. Not saying they'll go far, but I can see them making it in a 12-team playoff.
And I will say this about Utah. Even though it's the Big Ten people listening and the SEC people listening will scoff, but for a stadium that doesn't seat very many, when I say very many, comparative to some of the big, Ed obviously is the big house. Nikki, you got the swamp. But for a stadium that seats about 58,000 people, when they get loud and they get rowdy there in the mountains, that is a very, very strong home field advantage. It's tough to win there in Salt Lake City.
It was vicious when Florida went there.
I'm
not kidding. It was vicious. You bring in, we have, Florida has amazing fans that travel. So we had amazing fans there, and they were saying this might be one of the loudest stadiums they've been to be so
very
small.
loud, very loud. It is very loud there. It might be because the air is a little thinner. They're up in the mountains, but yeah, their home field advantage is a kind of an underrated.
It's fun.
Yeah, they're loud. They're fun. They love their Utes.
And their players feed off of it. And if you watch that in the USC game, you watch that in any big game, those players feed off of that crowd. And that's why they push through, especially in like that USC game.
Absolutely. Well, and they took the show on the road when they smacked USC in the former Pac-12 championship game.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
no, I can't say enough about how excited I am. I don't have a dog in this fight per se. I mean, I'm rooting for TCU if I'm rooting for anybody, but I think TCU's still in a bit of a rebuild from after making that run to the the national championship game.
This show tonight just has me excited in general to watch college football.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And one thing that the Big 12 is doing, they have tried to give you every week at least a game or two where you're going to want to have your second screen, on that game, because what the Big Ten and the SEC have kind of done is they're giving you one, maybe two a week because they want to stagger it, because they have their television deals where there's the biggest big game of the week and you're locked in on that. Whereas the Big 12, they're just kind of, hey, check us out, like, hey, we got this game at 3:30.
One last year, not just TCU. We watched almost every Big 12. I mean, we put it on multiple TVs and the split screen so we can watch other games. But I don't think we missed, because we enjoy watching every team in the conference.
Right. I think the Big 12 is going to take over that old role of Pac-12 After Dark. I think you're going to have Big 12 After Dark.
That'd be nice.
Forward. And I get Now, another thing that's very interesting about the Big 12 is here where I live, since we've got West Virginia nearby, I get Big 12 games for free on the Rabbit Ears, right on Fox.
Yeah, that's a big deal.
Yeah, so I know
With everything going to pay now, if you can get games for free, I'm tuning in.
That's why I stick with these any provider I can get that gives me the most sports programs.
Oh yeah, well I'm paying for Hulu so I can see what I got to see, but it runs my ass raw, and the SEC deal cuts me out of getting SEC games over the Rabbit Ears because CBS is no longer broadcasting SEC, so we don't know. The ABC could put on a myriad of games based on the contract, so I don't know what we're going to get for free. But when I can,
I know that ABC, when I was just looking at the schedules for the Big 12, they have a big game almost every weekend on ABC.
That's a big deal. So they're covering two networks, guys, and some of these conferences, part of the SEC is on one network, part on another. Same thing with the Big Ten. So it's a crazy landscape for TV. It's not familiar to me. Yeah,
Everybody wants a piece of the pie.
Yeah, exactly.
And I just want to watch it.
Well, the networks want a piece of every pie because they want to have, it's so much easier to have live programming, particularly in sports, because we all know you got to watch it live.
Yeah.
In this day and age, you have to watch it because nobody's waiting to no one's tape recording these games anymore. Because
you have Facebook now.
Yeah, and people are gonna ruin it for you if you even look on your phone 1 second.
Yeah.
Or your phone gives you the updates.
Say you have ESPN app, you get the update for every game.
Yeah, and I was waiting to watch this game, and now I don't have any reason to watch it because now I know what the final result is. But I mean, the other thing that's great about this conference is it spans 4 time zones. The Eastern time zone all the way to the Pacific time zone, thereabouts. Arizona and Arizona State are on Pacific time half of the year, and then they're on Mountain time the other half of the year because they don't fall back. They don't spring forward. Because if you live in Arizona, why would you need an extra hour of daylight? It's already hotter than hell. So, you're not doing that. But, you're going to have, games from, noon in the East till 10 o'clock at night in the, at least the Mountain time zone. So
isn't that exciting? I just got chill bumps. I'm so ready for this.
Oh yeah. We're all, we all get up at whatever our time is to watch game day. We watch game day or Fox, the big noon kickoff. And then we go right into the noon Eastern game, then the 3:30 window, then the 6:30 window, then the 8 o'clock Eastern window. And then, those that are not like Ed, who have to be in bed by 8:30.
The one good thing of COVID. The one good thing of COVID, we started getting Tuesday night football, and they kept it.
Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday night football.
So it was we got Tuesday, and we thought it was just going to be during COVID, so those extra,
And then they realized, no, this is good. This works. Yeah,
we get to watch smaller, teams, but I think it's awesome to be able to watch. I think Tarleton had 2 or 3 this last year that was Tuesday night, and they were on, national TV. You don't get that, and they're D1 now, but still, you don't get that unless you're playing TCU, Baylor, Tech, one of them.
So I'm all about Wednesday night MACtion. All the MAC games.
Yes.
Central Michigan,
Toledo.
So Sean, while I've got this graphic up that I'm looking at, did you say that Florida had the toughest schedule in the country?
I think they do. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I want to go ahead and put this into perspective to back up what Sean was saying, and I'm not going to go over the whole schedule, but I was just looking at the last 5 games of this schedule, and I'm just gonna read it off here. They played Georgia and Jacksonville.
Nikki, you may want to put your earmuffs on.
Oh,
you might.
I look at it daily.
They play Georgia and Jacksonville. Then they go to Austin and play Texas, and then they come home and play LSU, and then they got Ole Miss coming to town, and then they go to Florida State.
That's a
5-game stretch of fucking unbelievable.
That is a murderer's row of the last 5 games.
And there is no breaks.
But there's not even a break from the beginning. We still have a UCF and Miami this year.
my top three hardest. I had Florida 1. I had Southern Cal 2. And you go, why Southern Cal? I go, well, they're going to play a 9-game Big Ten conference schedule for the first time.
Yep.
And then let's add, they have 3 non-conference games. 2 of them are against LSU in a neutral site game in Vegas. And then they host Notre Dame to close their season out. And Notre Dame is supposed to be pretty good. So USC has a very hefty plate of food for football this fall. And then number 3, Arkansas. You get Oklahoma State in the non-conference, and then you have a very difficult SEC conference schedule. So those 3 programs, I'm curious to see how they finish up the year. And I feel bad for their head coaches because I don't think it's not for trying their damnedest to win games. I just think when you have to play that many quality caliber opponents week after week after week, I mean it eventually takes its toll. That's my point.
Especially like with Florida, you're starting the season out as tough as you are. You usually start out pretty soft to make sure your players are getting the reps.
I mean, you're starting with Miami.
Healthy.
I know it's in Gainesville, but that's a rivalry game. But Miami's got talent,
and right there, you're going to lose the play. You're going to. This is a hard-hitting match where both of these teams are going to come out. It's not like we're playing a nobody team like we normally do, where our boys get used to being on the field, getting used to full-blown hits. You're going to lose players.
But the thing I want to say about those 3 teams is I tip my cap to them because this is the kind of schedules we want to see as college football fans. I don't want to see USC or Florida play. I'm going to throw out a school, Wofford, the Mighty Terriers. I don't want to see them play them because it does me no good to see, Florida beat Wofford 62-3 in the Swamp.
It wouldn't happen.
I don't gain anything. I don't learn anything. I don't know anything.
One thing that a slowed down economy has produced is that fans are not willing to pay for these games anymore. They're not willing to go to them, and so they're not filling the stadiums up for these games anymore. They're moving on to bigger games.
Yeah, I think it tells you that the fans are smarter in this day and age with their dollars. I think
it's got to be.
One, you have to be first and foremost, but number 2, it's the way it should be. I mean, absolutely. Doug and I have talked about this is a year you don't want to quite recall, Doug, but 1955, Alabama played a hellacious schedule. Their record wasn't that great, but at least every game was, against the marquee opponent. And I think that's where we're with this conference realignment is where we're ultimately funneling to is from week 1 until conference championship game weekend, and you can extrapolate that into the CFP. We want quality games, regardless of who you root for. We want a quality game every week. I don't want to see, and I, as a Notre Dame fan, I can say, week 2, I'm not happy. Northern Illinois comes to South Bend. I don't want to see that game. I'm not excited for that game. I'm not. I don't want to see it. I'm not buying a ticket to it. And I probably won't watch it. I'm probably going to watch a lot of the other games that are going to be games that are of more importance because it does me no good. That's a glorified scrimmage, and I don't want to watch a glorified scrimmage. I want to watch quality teams play against each other. And with a 12-team playoff, you can have a couple of losses if they're against quality opponents.
Yeah,
right.
And get into the playoffs.
Has to win, I think it's 8 games to make the playoffs because of their strength of schedule.
I give even Ed, his mighty Michigan Wolverines, a little credit. They have the formerly, not playing anybody in non-conference. Hawaii, Army, Eastern Michigan. And this year they welcomed Texas into the big house. I love that.
That's a big
But
deal.
we discussed this like 4 years ago. It might even been longer, how we were all kind of disappointed that we weren't seeing more. This is before we even knew of the conference realignment, that why isn't our teams picking up good out-of-conference games? Like, why are we bringing in these nobodies? We need some big time schools. And then we started seeing Florida scheduling Notre Dame, Florida scheduling Oklahoma, which is now canceled because they're part of our conference. But we started seeing that. So maybe you guys are right. If we speak it in existence on Smacking Off, it comes true.
That's
that
right.
and just the fact that there's no TV market for these games anyway.
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't get people, that's what's happening is they're not filling the stadiums up anymore.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, like
Back in the day, you used to fill the stadiums up for these games. I really don't know why, but it's not happening anymore.
You couldn't
Well, I
get
mean,
in there.
you talk about. I mean, Saban was the one that kind of started it, kind of unofficially. Bama would have week 2 or week 3 a non-conference game against let's say Troy or Samford or whatever, and they're up 42-3 at halftime. If you're a student, this game, we got this one in the bag. I'm out of here. I can go study for a midterm or go down to downtown Tuscaloosa and start partying early with my friends on a Saturday.
Study.
I mean,
Hey, Sean, that would be Mercer because I guarantee
excuse
you,
me.
Alabama has never played Troy.
Sorry, Mercer. Fine, Mercer.
That's
Which
even
really,
better.
I think they should have by now.
But you get my
Bama
point.
tends to do that now late in the year.
Yeah,
it's starting to get cut back, and I think it's only going to get cut back further the further we go down the road with these television contracts. Because Doug's point is great. If the people aren't in the stadium, you can damn sure bet yourself that people at home aren't putting it on their television.
Oh, I
well,
agree.
this 12-team playoff is definitely helping too.
Selling alcohol.
Oh, that too, but I think Doug's got it right on the head. The 12-team playoff, it's like you're. Other than that, we talked about it last week when we did our Group of 5 preview. There's going to be a Liberty or name the other Group of 5 that sneaks in by not playing anybody. But I think for the power conference schools, you better have a pretty rock solid schedule, or otherwise, you might be team number 13 on the outside looking in.
Oh yeah.
So tell me, guys, how do we? Who goes to this championship game in the Big 12? It's not divided into divisions anymore, right? Or no, hell, it wasn't even divided into two divisions last year. So they were the first, I think, to quit doing divisions. So we're going to see the 2 best teams in this, to the best of the conference's ability to pull that off, right?
Yep, I'd say be Utah and Kansas State. That's who I'd pick in the championship game.
I'm saying Utah, and I'm actually going to go with Oklahoma State. Even though I want TCU there, I'm going to go with Oklahoma State.
I'm with Nikki.
I'm taking Kansas State and Oklahoma State.
Ooh.
Oh, nice. Yeah, I think that's possible too. It's so hard. I'm sorry,
but can they?
I was going to pick Utah, but since Sky didn't show up, fuck them Utes.
Yeah.
F your team, Sky.
Hey, he's probably mad. He was supposed to come on one night, and I forgot about him. This is probably his payback.
Because he didn't come on, they're not going to win. They're not going to win any games.
Yeah, you just fucked your team, Scott. How do you fucking feel about that, dude? You fucked them.
Well, I mean, the interesting thing, real quick, for Sky as they go into the Big 12. They got losing records to Houston, Oklahoma State, Texas Tech, Iowa State, and Arizona State. So,
Poor Sky.
That'd be tough.
I mean, they've been making their year for the last 3 or 4 years. I'm not sure exactly what their record is, but they've beaten USC a couple times at least. And that's what they've hung their hat on, really.
But they still have a losing record to USC.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
So
the Big 12 is going to be fun. I think we're all going to be tuning in, and I think we're all ready for college football to start.
Now, I just have to say, is this the official revival of the Smacking Off tradition of fuck your team?
Yes, it is.
If we're talking about the Utes, then absolutely.
I don't think it ever went away, Dr. Balls. I think it's always been there.
Oh yes.
I mean, I tell that to Ed every week.
There you go.
It's actually been a couple of weeks, so I kind of miss it.
Oh, well, I mean, the 2023 Astros champions, the Michigan Wolverines.
Fuck your team.
Okay. My jerseys don't have asterisks on them.
Don't worry. I mean, send them to me. I'll get an asterisk sewn on real quick for you.
I'm
No
sure you
problem.
will.
Nice.
So real quick, I did not hear this team mentioned, but how does Dion and the Buffaloes fare this year? Because you know that all eyes are going to be there.
Middle of the pack.
Yeah, I'd agree with Nikki. I think middle of the pack. I mean, they do have a lot of talent on offense. I mean, Shedeur Sanders is a hell of a quarterback. He's probably going to be a first-round pick, assuming he stays healthy, and I want him to stay healthy. I don't want injuries on anybody. But I just don't think they have enough on defense, and that's saying something in the Big 12.
Yep.
But, they'll put points up. But as we saw last year when they were in the Pac-12, they're going to struggle to stop teams from scoring. You know, they had a huge lead on Stanford, if we recall. And remember, Stanford came back with, 4 touchdowns, beat them?
I do. And, Dion is arrogant as shit. But I really felt bad for Colorado last year, the way everything started, because a whole bunch of people jumped on that bandwagon. And they wasn't saying, hey, this is going to be a pretty decent team. Let's not forget that what did they win, 2 games the season before?
They were bad.
Yeah, I mean, so they were better for sure. They were better.
No, right.
From where
exactly.
they were.
But people didn't jump to that bandwagon. People were fucking saying this team's going to the playoffs.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm like,
those are college football noobs. You know, they don't know. You know, their ass from a hole in the ground.
We dismissed that right here, though. I mean,
I'm not mentioning any names, but somebody in Smacking Off was pretty close to jumping to that bandwagon as well. It wasn't me. And it wasn't
I'm just happy because
I don't think that was me, Doug.
It wasn't
I'm
you.
just
either.
happy because breaking news that Notre Dame fired their coach and just signed Carl Durrell to 8-year, $17 million contract.
You're very funny, Ed.
Marcus,
very funny. No, Marcus Freeman is very, very much entrenched as our head coach, and he's doing just fine. Last I checked, he's out recruiting the new head coach at Michigan. So
and Mel Tucker's his top assistant coming with him.
Very funny. I like jokes too, but they got to be actually.
The priests are gonna love that shit.
They have your jokes that have to have a punchline, and they're not very good. So don't quit your day job.
You know, I used to do stand up actually, and I was pretty good.
Oh, really?
Hey,
Break it off on me, man.
we'll start getting some. We'll get a little bit of. We'll get some clips of you doing stand up. Instead of going to commercials, we'll go to Ed doing stand up.
Everyone will need to sign a waiver.
My prediction is Ed will be crying like Sharon Moore did by the end of the season.
Oh God!
Goodness.
I expect 2 to 3 losses.
I would expect 4. Let's double it. Come on, let's have fun.
I don't know. I think they might get lucky and make a bowl at 6-6.
That would be great. I would love to see them in is the Meineke Car Care Bowl still around?
Yes, it was.
So real quick,
Bowl.
I didn't pick
for it. Put them in the Gasparilla Bowl.
There you go.
That's a fun bowl, though.
That's a fun bowl. You're in Tampa.
Yeah.
Come on.
Oh,
Sean, help me out.
Bowl.
So I didn't pick on the Big 12, and I'm not going to because I don't know.
Oh, come on, Doug. Give us something.
No. Here's what I want to know, though. I've got one question, and Sean maybe would answer this. If not, then maybe somebody else. But I would love to see one of the new teams get to the championship game and win it. When I say one of the new teams, I mean, even going back to last year, I mean, I'm talking about Cincinnati. Who else? UCF.
Houston.
It's just not looking good for you, Doug. It's not.
UCF.
Okay, so
unfortunately, the only one you could expect that is a new team is, unfortunately, Utah.
But I do think UCF could actually. They got KJ. They got Jefferson.
Javon Baker's still there.
UCF finishing 10th in the conference.
They could do okay with KJ there.
How good is Arizona?
Arizona could be there. They could be.
That's the one. I keep thinking I can't mention Utah because our Utah rep didn't show up and fuck those Utes. But
let me take a quick look here at Arizona, real quick. Arizona, the biggest question is, let's see if they have an answer for me here.
Well, they got to replace their coach. That was one of them.
The one thing I can say is
Brandon
that they bring back that great, exciting quarterback of theirs in Fafita.
He's good.
He's very good. I mean, he single-handedly damn near beat Southern Cal in Southern Cal. And then he orchestrated the big Arizona win in the bowl game over the mighty Oklahoma Sooners, who there are some Sooner fans who will not be named, will explain away the loss to Arizona, and I believe it was the Alamo Bowl. But Arizona played their ass off in that game. And that quarterback Fafita, he's exciting. He's fun to watch. So I'll give you Arizona, Doug. Yeah, if you want to roll with them to maybe be a first time.
If I'm not mistaken, didn't he take over due to injury? And he looked at the other guy and said, "Yeah, you're not getting your job back."
You're right, Ed. You were absolutely right.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not picking them, but that would be the most exciting, at least for them to get to the championship game.
And Arizona has a history of kind of shocking us. And Doug and I think Bob and maybe Ed remembers this, but the Teddy Bruschi Desert Swarm that destroyed the Miami Hurricanes in a bowl game many years ago.
I absolutely do remember that. Yes.
Nobody in their mother had Arizona winning that game. Nobody
guessed it.
That Desert Swarm defense the year before had actually won some games that paved the way for Alabama to even get to that Sugar Bowl.
That's New Year's Day, a very much younger version of me going, what the hell just happened to Miami? And who is this Arizona team?
They were good all year, though.
Hey, you know, in '92, Alabama has to really thank Bill Walsh.
Had. That's right. Yeah.
Bill Walsh going to Notre Dame and winning.
I remember that we were up 16-0 at halftime in that game.
Without that, Notre Dame was ranked ahead of Alabama. They probably stay ranked ahead of Alabama.
We probably would have got Alabama in the bowl game.
Unless, Miami. You still got the
maybe Miami. Maybe Miami. But the game we were denied that year, that would have been the better game because obviously we saw what Alabama did to Miami. The game that we should have got, because if you remember, 93 was the year really that Irish team started really cooking.
If you remember correctly, that year y'all played a really good Texas A&M team.
We did, and yep. But I mean, the game everyone would have wanted that year was Jerome Bettis and the Irish against Derek Lassick and that great Alabama defense in the Sugar Bowl. That would have been a classic. Instead, you guys beat the shit out of Miami, and we had to just grind it out against a good game A&M.
But seriously, as an Alabama fan watching that, and see, my fear wasn't. I mean, I would have loved to play Notre Dame in a ball game, but my fear at that point was that Alabama gets shut out of the whole thing, and so I'm pulling for Miami to lose or Notre Dame to lose at that point.
Yeah, no, I mean it makes sense, and it was really a terrible one of the worst. Like when you talk about coaches, like. Bill Walsh is a master, obviously.
That's what's on my mind.
And as good as Lou Holtz was, Walsh put on a coaching clinic in that second half, and he had the players to do it. He had Steve Stenstrom at quarterback for Stanford. He had Glenn Milburn at tailback. I think Tommy Vardell was on that team. And they ran that West Coast offense to perfection, and our defense had absolutely no answer. And, they were down 16-0 at halftime, I think, or 16-3, something like that. And they came back and beat us 31-16 in South Bend. So that just tells you how great of a coach Bill Walsh was, and, gone far too soon. But his book is still the, colloquial, air quotes, the Bible when it comes to learning football. If you haven't had a chance to read his book, Finding the Winning Edge, and it's on the secondary market now. It is very expensive to buy. I have a copy. Get your hands on that book because it tells you everything you need to know about the game of football. I mean, that's how smart Bill Walsh was.
All right, so next Wednesday we will preview another conference, and we'll talk about it here in the next few days, and we'll figure out which conference that's going to be.
ACC. ACC.
All right.
ACC.
Okay.
There you go.
That's what I think we should do. What do we think, gang?
I'm
I'm
with
good
you.
with
That's
ACC.
fine.
Let's do
I'm
the
with it.
ACC and save the Big Two for our last.
Yep.
All right, guys. Talk to y'all later.
All right, everyone. Have a
Bye.
good
Okay,
week.
good night.
Great
Great
call.
job, guys.
Thank you for supporting Smacking Off the podcast on the X's and O's network. Be sure to keep up with our scheduled live casts and other presentations on Facebook at Smackologists or at Smacking Off, and on our YouTube channel at Smacking Off the Podcast.